Hello, and welcome to this episode of Redefining the Customer Journey, where we take a deep dive into how anyone, from a local small business owner up to a corporate CEO, can build a modern business that is flexible and able to quickly adapt and evolve. Specifically, in this episode, we're going to give you some major takeaways on the topic of automated follow up. With these easy to implement business principles, you're going to make more money while saving hundreds of hours by implementing a few simple steps. We've all seen businesses collapse because they were built on weak foundations, riddled with problems in their day to day, which are also unnecessarily complex to grow and scale. We want to help you build something that leverages your time and resources for maximum effectiveness without sacrificing your customer experience. I'm Paul Sokol, founder of BPro, best-selling author of the Infusionsoft cookbook, which contains over 80 CRM-based business recipes for automated follow-up. And I've been helping small to medium-sized businesses under 50 million grow with automation since 2008.
And I'm Bobby Perceau, founder of LeadPass.com, which helps you set your business processes on autopilot to free up more time for sales. I've been in automation since 2016, primarily in the financial services space. And in each episode, we are going to cover one specific topic for the CRM to explain what it is, why it's important, common problems, and the best solution that we've seen throughout our experience. And as we mentioned for today's episode, we are talking about the automated follow-up. So what is an automated follow-up? Usually it goes along with a strategy or a tactic that are programmed into an automated workflow. So what will happen exactly when a new client is added into the CRM or they fill out a form and everything that happens afterwards?
Yes. We talked about the biological stimulus or response, I think, in episode 6 when we were talking about automated workflows. So this is more specifically the ground level stuff in those automated workflows, campaigns, what have you. So really, this is, what is it? It's a response to some action or an inaction that communicates directly to somebody, not necessarily a customer or prospect. Somebody could also be internal as well, or somebody on your team. So that's what it is. And we're going to talk about a lot of cool ground level stuff today in that. But why is this important, Bobby? Why do we need to do automated follow-up with our CRMs?
So one of the really interesting things about the automated follow-ups are speed to lead response times. So whenever you get a new lead that comes into the system, for example, I think it's 391% higher conversion rates if you respond to that individual within the first 5 minutes. And this was was it an MIT study? I'm not sure. It's all over the internet because it was like such a huge breakthrough in how quick it is. And if you have someone who's a salesperson who's in a meeting and they don't get back to this new potential lead in a quick manner, you're just throwing money out the window. So that would be one of the big ones for speed to lead when something comes in for automated follow-ups.
Mm-hmm. And even if you can't immediately get to something, just having something going out. So like if I were to fill out a contact us form on a website, I'm expecting some immediate acknowledgement of that. Even if it's just an email that says, hey, great, we got your comments, somebody will be in touch with you soon, right? We need that. So I'd say that's probably one of the biggest takeaways as to why automated follow-up is important, because it's supplementing your various marketing, sales, and fulfillment journeys. And it keeps you on track as well when you know exactly what's supposed to happen along each part of those. It lets you track your outreach and these kinds of things. And it keeps people on track too, which is really important because humans are humans. Automation never gets tired. It's always going to do what it's supposed to do. Unless, of course, there's like a server failure, but that's something totally different. That has nothing to do really with if your CRM is like failing at the server level, go get another CRM because that should never happen. You should have 100% uptime. I don't know, any other reasons why automated follow-up is important, Bobby, or should we get into some of the fun stuff, some common issues and best ways to work around it that we've seen?
To use it too is just keeping your team on track so that they don't miss deadlines, and that's kind of one of the reasons why you would use it, so that you always know that hey, listen, my sales team should be calling at this point, and if they don't, we have the automated follow-up backup just in case of the secondary system. But there's tons of common issues when you do have automated follow-ups. Automating something that you don't do manually, not stopping the follow-up when it's done its job. So it keeps on going through a nurture cycle campaign, for example, when they've already been sold on the product line.
Yeah, that's a huge one. I actually want to back up to what you said about automating something you don't do manually. Because that's a huge one. You'll have people that they get into CRM and they start automating stuff that they don't actually do individually. The whole point of automation is to like just do relationships at scale. But I see all the time people automating something that they would never do individually. So like, why would you automate that? That it doesn't make sense. It's not going to enhance, the customer journey and what you're trying to go for. Um,
So, like, what would be an example of that, Paul?
so like, I love using the example of inviting somebody to a party. So hey Bobby, it's Monday right now as we're recording this. So hey Bobby, I got a party on Saturday. Are you gonna come? Maybe I send you an email, and then if I don't hear from you uh, by like Thursday, maybe I'm gonna go ahead and send you another email that says, hey. Haven't heard from you. Are you gonna go ahead and come to my party? And then if I still don't hear from you, maybe Saturday morning, I'll go ahead and send you a text that says, "Hey, dude, I'm having this party tonight. Just want to see if I should expect you." Right? Um, if that's what I were to do for real individually, that's what I should automate. What I would not do is email Bobby every morning at 8 a.m. on the dot, because that's not how it works. That's not what you would actually do. And then talking about what you said about the follow up not stopping when it's done its job, that's also very that's if you were to say, yeah, Paul, I'm coming to your party, and then the next day I'm still like, hey, Bobby, are you coming to the party? Like that's just gonna make me look stupid. Um, and so yeah, when you're doing your automated follow-ups, there should be a specific objective, or even an anti-goal or an anti-objective, just to make sure that it stops. Because that's huge. You don't want to be telling people to buy something when they already bought it. They're past that. Movement to the next part of the journey. Um,
Yeah, one of those things too is when you're not factoring in timing into the follow up. So
yes.
if you're giving me a message at, I don't know, your Pacific Standard Time at like 8 o'clock and I'm Atlantic and it's 4 hours ahead of me or 5 hours ahead, and you're like, oh, why am I getting this at like 12 o'clock at night? Or if you don't factor in that, hey, listen, on the 24th of the month, I'm going to send you a nurture cycle campaign, and you don't switch it from 12:01, which instantly is going to go into all of the spam folders because it's not registering as a real email time. So those are things to correlate with that as well.
Yeah, the devil's really in the details with automated follow up, especially and it's almost counterintuitive, but sometimes you might try and automate something when you actually should not. It's sometimes better to not automate something. You can definitely have too much automation, especially if you're like brand new to CRMs. You can be excited at what you could do and forget to think about, we spent too much, what is it? It's like we spent so much time wondering if we could do this to think if we should do this. Um, and so, if anything, start with the version one of stuff, or don't automate something when you shouldn't. Um, Maybe you should actually do a phone call, or maybe you should have somebody find them on social and see like what are they doing. You can definitely have way too much automation, um, and that's a really big issue actually. They're just trying to know if they automate everything, and it's no good.
Yeah. And then you run into the second thing. If you don't plan out your automations from the start, which I mean, we've had multiple episodes now that kind of go over planning and building everything out from naming conventions, but you have your naming conventions and you also have your timing triggers. So you could have two separate automated follow ups that overlap. So when you're building them out, you should have almost like a board of when all of the different automated campaigns are going to run so that you can see, okay, this nurture cycle, this follow-up sales cycle, and this other, nurture cycle campaign or something else. They don't send out 4 or 5 emails at the same time for different topics because then you're just going to flood their email and you'll eventually get it picked up for spam. So
Yeah,
just a good thing to do during the planning stages.
yeah, and being aware of that, of these overlapping timing things, because like time's it's a real thing. So perfect example of this is I've got a training that I'm running. So it's Monday, we're running this training tomorrow. So I was promoting it all last week, but I knew that I was also going to hit my list on Thursday about a latest blog post. So I made sure that when I was promoting this event, I promoted on Wednesday, skipped Thursday, promoted on Fridays. So that way, at the most, they were getting one email a day. because I wouldn't want to hit them on Thursday with, hey, go check out this blog post, and also a, hey, you haven't signed up for this training yet, go get it, right? And that comes down to awareness. Like I've worked with clients where they're like, hey, every single Thursday we know we're sending our newsletter. Cool. When we're planning out some kind of automated promotion, we do not send on Thursday. Or if we do it at like opposite sides of the day. If they're always sending their newsletter, in the morning, something like that, cool. We're going to send this thing on Thursday at 5 p.m. So that way there's 8 or so hours in between the last one they got. Which a great takeaway and a good way to think about it is just losing the forest through the trees, meaning like you're just not paying attention to why are you doing it in the first place. You're just automating because you can without thinking about what's the entire point of this? Why am I doing this thing? Um, yeah, I see that a lot.
And it kind of goes back to, so like for the overlap too, is people putting, like a common issue would definitely be like people putting it in the wrong follow-up sequences, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially for product lines. If you're not super specific about your source of where that lead came from, it often happens that, okay, it did come in from Facebook, but which campaign did it go into?
Mm-hmm.
And which specific product are they trying to go? So if you're trying to sell someone like a
Product
cat
A.
toy and they have a dog and they don't have both, it kind of becomes like a huge waste of all of your processes and like time to be doing that. So that's just a real quick thing to be very specific about putting people in the wrong follow-up, not only manually, but automatically, depending on how your workflows are laid out.
Yeah.
So
That's a great example again, losing the forest through the trees. If I've got some nurture to sell this cat toy or something, but then I've been doing lead generation for some dog thing, like I don't need to do that. Which actually that is a really big common issue I see, is where either the messaging is it's too specific or it's not relevant to 100% of like what we can talk to, because again it's automated. So whenever I'm writing emails or copy or anything like that, I always get clear on like what can I 100% without a doubt be confident and speak to, and then also on the other side of that, what are some things that I 100% absolutely cannot speak to. And it's very subtle. The devil will be in the details. So like a Mother's Day email, right? I have no idea if somebody's a mother or not. On my list, I have no idea what gender they are. So I can talk about my mother, but I absolutely cannot talk about who they are. Now, um, if I've been doing a survey of my list and I know, like, let's say maybe I'm specifically serving mothers, okay, cool. Maybe I can talk about that, but I also need to be very, very careful that, like, if I don't have that data point on them, maybe I skip that. Um, but yeah, that's the messaging. That's where, as if like good and bad automation is. You'll speak to something that absolutely is just not true for that person, and then you lose them. It's like calling somebody by the wrong name in a conversation when you're just sitting down with them. Like they're out. You've lost them entirely.
yeah, so some of the best solutions, now that we've talked about like a bunch of the common issues that can come up, the first one, which is always kind of a no-brainer here, would be to test the automated follow-ups to see if there are overlaps.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a new build or a new sequence that you want to use, you should have it in a sandbox account, like a backup one, so that it's not actually in your main account, not going out to all of the individuals that are already in your CRM who are attached to everything, and just run them through the cycle of both at the same time to make sure that you're not going to have any conflicts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And with that too, like you have to be very clear on what causes them to stop these follow-up sequences, because if you don't, you can often have those overlaps. So be very clear on what causes the follow-ups to stop, and always test your follow-up to see where and if they are going to overlap.
Mm-hmm. And also be aware that sometimes multiple things could cause somebody to stop as well. So that's where planning and being really clear on the customer journey is. In fact, it's important when you're building these ground level automated follow ups to be clear and stay focused on where they are in their customer journey, and not just a high level. Are they in a marketing journey, a sales or fulfillment journey? It's like what part of those are they in? And so, like, a good example is when I'll do automation for sales pipelines, and we'll have like a stage of engaging, which is basically like where we're talking to them. We don't know if they're qualified. Uh, to move ahead in the sales process, there's not a lot that you could automate. At the very most, maybe it's something like if they're still in that stage after 5 days, invite them to follow you on social. And even in the language there, you can say, hey, I don't know if we're following each other on social yet, but here we are. Or like, hey, I can't recall if we're following each other on social yet. Just, you got to be really careful to, again, only speak the stuff you're 100% certain on and just avoid everything else. Um, which there's
So
nothing
here's
wrong with
like
that.
here's one of the best solutions that you can really do when you're talking about like the customer journey. So like, if you have a brand new lead that comes into the system, you want to be following up like 2 times to 3 times a day for the first 3 days, whether that's text message, email, phone call, automated text back and forth with like a closebot.ai or an automatic outbound AI with like a SenseFlow. And then, okay, where are they on the customer journey? They haven't responded in 3 days. If they have responded, it'll automatically stop them, pull them out of the sequence, and push them into a interested opportunity stage. Okay, so it's been 3 days, they haven't replied. Then you're into warm. Okay, so where are they on the customer journey? So then maybe you only message them, text message them, call them once a day. Then you're moving to the next pipeline stage. So each of these stages have different ways to stop them, either engagement, talking back and forth, or they say stop on any of the places within the customer journey itself, and then you just have to map it all out. So
Yeah.
something really important to think about when you start building out the automated follow-ups of what do you really want to accomplish?
Hmm. And that circles back to what I was saying earlier about that. No matter what you're doing, whether it's all about relationships at scale, and you don't want to automate weirdness, and you even want to think about those undesirable things. So let's say somebody, you're sending automated text, and somebody says stop. Okay, obviously you want to go ahead and stop the text messages, but you probably also want to maybe stop some of the other stuff and acknowledge that too. Like if I would get back to the party example, if I was like, hey Bobby, coming out to this party, and I text you and you're like, stop, Sokol, I'm not interested in this party, I would want to acknowledge that. And maybe send him an email that says, hey man, I saw your text that you weren't interested in my party. Like, did I do something wrong? Did I upset you or something like that? Um, because I care about the relationship, and you should care about the relationship. That's also a common issue that we didn't even put down in our notes. But the people don't care about the relationship, and that's the wrong way to do it. Don't automate weirdness. If you would do it in real life, do it, uh, but be very careful when you're doing it at scale.
Yeah, and if there's no response from the follow-up, right, you have to be very clear on what needs to happen next, either
Yeah.
manually or automatic. So, Sokol, if I'm not saying that I'm coming to your party, you might want to manually just give up for the next time. But
Hmm.
if when I do like a good, barbecue or whatever, you probably would keep me on that follow-up list for next time, regardless of what it is. So,
Yeah.
just things to think about when you're kind of segmenting these lists too and the different automated follow-ups. It's really cool when you get into like hardcore KPIs and you're putting SQL databases in here and you track all of the individuals when they open up your text message, when they open up your emails, and you can see the large data pools. But that's neither here nor there for this individual topic. But those things are really great when you want to improve your profitability long term for sales cycles.
Yeah.
So
And I think one good thing to wrap up on, because we're almost at time here. I would say a good takeaway, especially when you're starting with your CRM, is get really good at identifying what you need to have versus what is nice to have. You can always evolve and improve and get better with your automation. So like, there's nothing wrong with saying like, okay, maybe all I need to have is if someone, let's say the contact form example, maybe the best thing that I'll do is I need to have an email that at least confirms that we got it and then spit a lead out into a sales pipeline. And that's okay. Would it be nice to text them? Yeah. Would it be nice to have an AI phone agent call them? Yeah. But I'm not necessarily there yet, or let's see how this works first. So just be okay with saying, you know what, we need this. We don't actually need this. Let's build the stuff that we need and see where we go from there. So um, I think I don't know any cherries on top for that one, Bobby, because I know you'll run into this a lot.
Yeah, I do a lot of the sales follow-up stuff. But no, I think that for this individual episode, we're going to get more in depth as we continue on in the series. But just want to say thank you so much for watching. And if you have any additional questions, please let us know in the comments. Make sure you watch the next episode where we will be talking about, what is it? I think customer onboarding.
Yeah.
Super important, SOPs galore. So be sure to subscribe now if you haven't already and don't miss it. And if you want to learn more about the customer journey, get Paul's free How to Automate Like a Pro mini course. And if you want to get some pre-built customer journey automations and snapshots, there's a couple below us right now from me. And the links to get either one of those are in the description. And we'll see you next time.